Emily Zendrian, founder of A to Z Communications, and this is my Brand Stories podcast. This is where we talk about everything related to branding. We're very lucky today to have Emily Kurisky of Wealthspire Advisors marketing team on our podcast today. She's quite an inspiration, going from an intern to a seasoned marketing pro within 7 years, and her career will only take off from here. I hope that everyone learns a lot from her experiences, as well as her poise and her grace. Hi, welcome to the Brand Stories podcast. We have Emily Kurisky here with us. She's from Wealthspire Advisors. You've been fabulous to watch and to see all the great marketing work that you're doing. So I'm super excited for everyone on the podcast to learn from you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here. This is my first podcast experience, and I'm really happy it's with an industry friend like you.
Well, as my first podcast person said, apparently it's your first pancake and they only get better after that. But as somebody who can't make pancakes well at all, I don't know that applies. So my first question to everybody is, what's your favorite brand and why? Just to sort of ground us in the conversation and help us understand branding to begin with.
So I think about this a lot. Obviously, as a marketer, I feel like we look at the world, we look at advertisements, and we notice branding immediately. And as a huge foodie, my mind immediately went to my favorite grocery store, which is Trader Joe's. I might be the only person in the world who loves grocery shopping, so this was an easy choice for me. And it's for a couple reasons. I think the first one is accessibility. I think they do a great job of really feeling like everybody's little small neighborhood grocery store. They keep prices really low. So even with inflation and as things change, I feel like they're pretty consistent in having low prices for really good products. And another big part of it is definitely the shopping experience. Like, I don't know if you've been in a Trader Joe's, but they only carry their own products. So they have a lot of fun with the branding. There's a lot of cool, unique items to choose from. And I feel like overall, they just really make the shopping experience fun. It's smaller, so it's more easy to navigate as well. And of course, you can't overlook the people. Their people are just awesome. I feel like the staff everywhere you go seems super genuine, super kind, friendly, actually interested in what you have to say and your experience. And I've actually heard people say that they love working there and they have really good benefits. So I think that plays a really key part as well, since they are your brand ambassadors. And then I think this will come up again, because this is kind of my key word here, is authenticity. I think they really know who they are when you look at their stuff. They don't really change a lot. There's that consistency in their branding, but I love how at the same time, they have a lot of fun with themselves. They don't take themselves too seriously. Their signage, their social, it can all be kind of silly and unapologetic, but there's still that element of consistency throughout. And I feel like that just screams authenticity, which I love.
That's a fabulous pick. So I personally, I do a bunch of different grocery stores. My sister, though, takes my kids all the time to Trader Joe's. And I have to give her credit. So every time that they go, they come back with like a bajillion stickers, most of which are on her car, which I'm sure that she's not thrilled with. Very sorry for that. But you're right. It seems like the people there are just like so happy and enthused that like you can't beat that. Once your employees are oozing out that kind of feeling, it's contagious.
It's impossible to leave not having had a good experience. And I may be biased, but that's my personal experience for sure.
Yeah. So you've been at Wealthspire for quite a long time. I think it's been 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. So what's it been like experiencing that kind of journey and seeing the growth over that period of time?
Oh gosh. Well, it's been a wild ride for sure. I started as an intern back in 2018. And it was just me and my former boss. Two of us. The firm was a predecessor firm of Wealthspire, so different name. We only had about 40 people. We were only really in like DC, New York, a bit of the Midwest markets. But then I started full-time in 2019, right after we got acquired. And we were launching a new brand, the Wealthspire brand, that fall. So it was very overwhelming at first. But since then, you've been around, like you said, for 7 years now. And we've gone through 10 to 12 acquisitions of our own where we bring on other firms of all sizes. So now I think we're about 25 offices across the country, 400 people, which is crazy to say. And I actually am part of a team now of 11. So if you had told me in 2018, fast forward to 2025, you're on a team of 11 as the project manager, I would definitely not believe that. But I think the best part, and maybe the hardest part, is that every day is so different. I find it really hard to describe to people what my role actually is, because I've become a bit of a jack of all trades, starting out doing a bit of everything. And then now being the project manager, I kind of oversee it all. So I get to do things like content creation, web development, social, branding. I'm kind of the go-to coordinator with our external partner. And then of course I get to help contribute to strategy and bigger picture things. So I really think the best word is evolution. We're constantly changing. Our firm is growing. But in an ideal world, it's always for the better. It's always with the end goal of better serving clients. And it's been fun for sure because it's kept me on my toes. And I feel like we've changed a lot, but all in good ways.
So I didn't realize that the rebrand was so close to when you were really kicking off with them. I can't even imagine because so in my past life at Northwell Health, there was a rebrand, but I want to say I was there 3 to 5 years or something like that. So like you had a little bit of the experience with the brand before and then could sort of launch it into what it was going to be. I can't even imagine what that was like, just having this massive marketing activity. Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. And in a way, it was a blessing 'cause I think from the start, I learned to adapt, which is not something that I'm naturally good at, I would say. And also, I felt like as this 22-year-old entering the industry, I felt like I actually had a lot of sway and a lot of impact in a really short time. So that I actually think set me up in a good way for the rest of my career because I was able to feel like I made a huge impact from the start.
Absolutely. The fact that someone could say that they were a part of a rebrand at that stage in the game, I mean, there are people who go throughout their whole career and never experience something like that. So that's absolutely amazing. Good for you. So, as far as your experience with Wellspire, seeing the brand evolve the way that it has, how do you feel like it's changed from when you first got there and you were an intern to now and even moving forward?
Yeah, so I think the obvious way is size. So we've grown a lot geographically. We've shifted away from that super small local feel to, I think, a much larger, well established organization. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with something else I've noticed, which is just clarity. I think we've gained so much clarity about who we are as a firm, who we are as a team, who we serve just in the past 5 or 6 years since the initial brand launch. And I feel like along with that, we have a much deeper sense of our goals and our purpose. And in the recent times, I feel like that extends even more to community work. So we recently launched our platform called Aspire, which is a firm-wide philanthropic platform, and it really elevates our ability to do that community outreach and charitable giving. Similar to that is refinement. We used to just kind of try to be everything for everyone. And I think now we're much more refined and elevated. I think we've learned less is more when it comes to marketing and branding a lot, which you wouldn't necessarily think out the gate. We try really not to overthink things and we keep people at the heart of everything. And I feel like when you do that, it's much easier to stay refined. So we've really encouraged in recent years our advisors as well to hone in on who they serve, what their niche is, what they want their ideal client to be through our advisor branding program. And I think that goes for the firm as a whole as well. And it brought to mind the phrase, if you're trying to market to everyone, then you're marketing to no one. And I think that's definitely true in how we've evolved and thought about our growth in the past couple of years as a firm.
So there were a few things in there that I really loved. And so among them that I'll go to first was so the advisor branding program. So how are you helping advisors? And I think it's interesting because in some cases I feel like advisors don't understand that they have a brand. So how do you help them shape what their brand is?
Yeah, so the first exercise we do with them is actually we Google them together. And we basically say, how do you want to show up in the world digitally and otherwise? Because nowadays everyone immediately Googles something, whether it's a service or product, before they engage with it. So we really try to nail down that digital footprint and hone their social media. We give them strategy. We try to just do those kind of small touches to elevate their digital presence. And then we take a look at their book of business. And the thing with younger advisors is a lot of them inherit, right? So at the beginning of their careers, they're just trying to build. It's quantity over quality a lot of times. And they haven't actually sat down and decided, who do I like to work with? So we look at their current book. We have them decide who are the clients that I absolutely love and who are the clients that I could do without. And then from there, we identify some of those key traits. So for some people, it might be, I love working with divorcees who are really financially empowered and are going through this tough transition and just need my support emotionally and financially. Or for some people, it might be, I love working with people who are multi-generational and nearing retirement and are trying to figure out the best way to leave a legacy. So we kind of hone their book from there. And then we leave them with various strategy items, content creation, and social media. We really try to help them decide, what do I value? And then how does that translate to my ideal client? Where do they live? Where do they show up? Am I going to the right events? Am I on the right boards? That kind of thing. So you can get involved and really be in much closer proximity to that ideal client that you want to work with in the future.
Yeah, that's amazing and incredibly powerful for those advisors to experience. Gosh, I googling somebody, I can imagine that first time. Depending on the person, it's a little shocking, but obviously a great activity to do. Very smart on your part. The other portion of what you had said before that I really liked was so the charitable portion of WealthSpires. I found from my past work with you guys that obviously a lot of firms say we give employees time to do community service and things like that. And it seems like that trite thing that everybody has to say so that they sound the right way. But the fact that you guys truly take that as part of your mission and own it, I think is really admirable. And the fact that then you're broadcasting that out and showing how truly you mean that is fabulous.
Yes. And actually, I think that kind of speaks to our culture as a firm as a whole, right? Because it's one of our core values. We talk about it all the time, and we really wanted a way to amplify it, tie a nice bow around it so that we could make a bigger impact. So we were super excited about that launch. And I think to date, we've contributed over, I think, 500,000 as a firm and employees included. So we're really excited about it.
Congratulations. So, what would you say to advisors who are trying to figure out what their brand is? Do you think if they don't have a marketing team like you guys, should they be doing that Google search themselves? Or what's the best way for them to take their brand and get it to somewhere where they want it to be?
Mike, our CEO, says this all the time, and it shows up in our materials, but it's true, and it might be cliche, but you have to start with your why. And you have to determine your values and build everything off of that foundation. So I was actually at an awesome women's conference, Invest in Women, about a week ago. And I was listening to a panel where one of the panelists said something along the lines of, if you can't easily articulate your values right now, you're already behind. And I thought about it, and I think that's such a powerful way to frame it, because I think we all assume, oh, I know what I care about and I know what my values are, but it's really hard to distill them down into a couple phrases or a couple things sometimes. So if you can do that, I think you're creating the framework for all of your work going forward. And being yourself, of course, is one of those other cliches that people throw around. But again, it's true, especially in this industry. I think it can be super scary to be the first to say something or to do something. There's so many regulations and standards and ways of doing things. So being able to step outside of the box a bit and try that new tactic or attend that new event, I think is really beneficial. I mean, we all feel more loyalty to the people and the brands that we know of that aren't afraid to take some of those risks. That's definitely a big one. And then I think just holding yourself accountable, like whether it's with your goals or when you make mistakes, being able to be human and own up to that. I think being able to pivot when you're faced with a challenge along the way, of course, is important. But especially in my generation, I feel like we value authenticity so much. So if you're an advisor that's looking for new clients, just going out there and being super human, that's the kind of person I would want to work with. So definitely knowing yourself, knowing who you're targeting. And then I love this concept I've seen a lot of recently called the third space. If you've heard of this, it's this concept where there's a space that you have to go to that you can intersect with people and things that are different from you, where you can ask questions and kind of challenge existing ways of doing things, a place for growth, discovery. And I think that that's crucial to building your brand, because if you're just set in your ways and you've always had this one way of doing things, then you'll never grow. So finding that third space and finding your people, if you will, is definitely important in building your personal brand.
Yeah. I love that. So you mentioned one of those dangerous words before. It was regulation. And so that brought up the whole compliance concept to me. So I work with some brands who are actually trying to help with the issue. Yes, we have to do things compliantly, but also we can't just use that as an excuse for we don't do things because compliance says no. So how do you navigate that delicate dance of, yes, there's compliance and obviously we can't do something that's going to get us in trouble, but also you need to do things that are bold and things that are going to make an impact?
Yeah, it's a really hard balance. I would say we get no more often than we get yes. So we're kind of in charge of pushing boundaries a bit and offering those big ideas. And then, of course, we get reined in a bit by compliance. But I think just relying really heavily on that human aspect is crucial, because they are the heart of our business. Our whole value is our advisors and our talent. So I think you can't go wrong just leaning into the human angle no matter what you're doing. And we try to also keep things like very much a local feel no matter where you are across the country. So we can't always roll out these huge national campaigns that apply across the board. because everywhere that our clients are, it's such a different market. So we try also to lean heavily on some of those local aspects of our markets, like knowing the values of the demographic that you're serving and what makes them different from geography to geography, I think really helps in being able to kind of skirt some of those regulations and still have like powerful content and advertising.
That's great. So, as a last question, hopefully somebody's listening to this and is like, gosh, I want to be Emily when I grow up. This woman started as an intern. She's with an amazing brand and she's achieved so much in the time that she's been there. How would you help somebody become the next you? Or how do people break into the industry in marketing?
Well, it's funny because if you surveyed the team that we have, almost no one started in financial services marketing and no one thinks to major in that. So I think all of us came out of school with various degrees, anywhere from communications to econ. We have a whole swath of different backgrounds. And I think the key is just pursuing what you like first and foremost. That might be a very Gen Z thing of me to say. But I, for example, loved writing. So in school, I was a PR and writing major, and that was my degree. I did not think it would take me to finance, but I took a chance on an internship and I thought, oh, that could be a really cool intersection. Finance is something that's relatively unexplored for me. It seems like a challenge. So I would love to apply my communication skills to that. So I think taking a chance on something that you might not think is the best fit for you on paper. I also have heard many times that women tend to think they are underqualified for jobs at a higher rate than men. And I think if we can get past that bit of imposter syndrome and mental block and just say, no, I'm going to apply for it. I can do this. I think we would discover a lot more opportunities that we actually are a great fit for. So I think just having that in the back of your mind and being able to take a chance on something is a great way to break into an opportunity that you may not have otherwise gotten involved with. I would also say networking and having a great mentor. I am so lucky. I feel like I have the best boss in the world. And I feel so loyal to her, and it really can make or break a team if you have a great manager. So being able to find a role where you have an advocate and a mentor that you can learn from is the fastest way to grow. I would definitely not be where I am. Gotten in the door at the right time, stuck it out for the awesome people, and then, had an advocate as strong as my current boss. So I feel like it really can propel you forward quickly, even though I've only been in the industry for 7 years, which is not a lot compared to a lot of my peers, but I think you can grow a lot faster when you have the right people behind you.
Absolutely. You know what? Just related to what you were saying about how women discredit themselves and whatnot. 7 years is a gosh darn long time. So let's give that all its due. But you've been so insightful, and I hope that a lot of people took something away from this. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.